Alright, this is my audience. Yeah. Alright, hi, my name is Autumn Niederquell. Today I'm going to be talking about hydraulic fracking, or as some other people call it, fracking. Now, that might be going through your head like, I've heard that before. What is it? Or I've never heard it before. Well, hydraulic fracking is the process of drilling into the ground and shooting thousands upon millions of gallons of water that is very toxic, into the ground for the sole purpose to break the shale to let the natural gas escape. Now, that doesn't sound too bad, does it? Well, it really is pretty bad. And this is, you start scrolling, Mom. Alright, right there. So, this is just a little water droplet. This is called dangersofracking.com. I will send the link, of course, in my links. And what this is just saying what hydraulic fracking is. It's a process. Go ahead, Mom, you can scroll down. And so this just takes you on a little journey of where the water starts. And it just keeps going, and it gives you little tips along the way, like this one. Each gas well requires an average of 400 tanker trucks to carry water supplies from the site. That's just one site. And now we're at the actual fracturing site where the water is mixed with chemicals and approximately 40,000 gallons of chemicals. Now, these chemicals include known carcinogens and just really bad things. All right, and these chemicals can include, as it says, lead, uranium, even hydraulic acid, formaldehyde. Yeah, some of these actually cause cancer. So, as we continue, this is basically what a drill site looks like. Keep going. So they drill down pretty far. Now it's cased about 10,000 feet with cement, which supposedly keeps it stable. And as we continue to go, we get to the groundwater. Now, this is where the fracking actually occurs. So, as we continue to go on, it goes and it breaks the shale, and that releases the natural gas, and gravity causes it to come back up. Now, throughout this process, it could crack the pipe on the way back or the way down, and could contaminate groundwater, which is where we get cases such as people being able to light their faucet on fire. It's pretty crazy. Well, anyway, if you don't mind, and once we get to the top, or the bottom of the page, or the top of the world now, we keep going. We see that it releases a bunch of toxic chemicals into the air, and just harmful things that we really do not need. Okay, and if you don't mind, can you click over to the next tab or two? So this is, if you can see that, someone lighting their faucet on fire. Now, the gas industry says that they don't, that they're not responsible for this. Okay, next one, please. This is what a hydraulic fracking site looks like. It takes up approximately, I believe it's almost 10 acres or so per site. This is the toxic chemical fluid that is left from the site. This is what they extract, but they only extract about 10% of it. The rest just stays in the well. However, this lake can be confusing for wildlife, and they can drink out of it and die. And this tiny one, I know it's a little harder to see, but the whole main purpose of that, if you don't mind pulling that again, was to show a fracking well it curves, and that's how it breaks into the shale and releases the natural gas back in. Now, shale isn't a big, strong rock when it's above the ground, but when it's below the ground, it's compacted with a bunch of other stuff, and it's really pretty strong. So if fracking fluid can break shale, can it not break concrete? And anyway, the whole purpose of that was to show also that actual drilling for oil, like an oil well, just goes straight down and goes right to the oil, and which doesn't make it much better, but less toxic for sure. Anyway, Josh Fox is an environmental activist. He's very famous for his documentary Gasland and Gasland 2. I've watched them both. It'd be great if you guys watched it. I'll send you links. So, his purpose, you guys have the remote, can you shut that off? His purpose was to, expose the hydraulic fracking and natural gas industry, the truth about it. Sorry about that, guys. Just don't want that to be a little distracting back there. Anyway, Fox wrote a letter to President Obama stating, "We believe that the natural gas industry has not been, forthcoming with you and your administration about what it's doing, such as the real effects of drilling of fracking on our water, air, land, and our public health, and democracy itself." Now that's a pretty big statement. We also have another man, mkay. I could not get his first name, I don't know why, is a man who believes fracking is the best energy source that this world could possibly use. Now, he wrote an article, not evil, just wrong, and it claims that Josh Fox's information about everything in his movie was basically wrong. There was a part in Mr. Fox's movie where he showed a man lighting his water on fire from the tap. Yeah, I know it sounds shocking, but you really got to see it to believe it. It did happen. It's crazy. And so mkay claims that that was all just made up and none of it's real and it's just crazy and anyone can do it. But in reality, that's not true. Because mkay, he doesn't even offer any other possible reason to why that happened. So, fracking, I believe, is to blame because that never happened in those areas before fracking came. Now, this is getting a little long and I do apologize, but I'm really passionate about this. I do not like fracking whatsoever. It's really dangerous. It's certain bacteria live under the ground that help with water and everything to make everything, function the way it's supposed to function and keep the land in balance. Now, when fracking fluid meets this bacteria, it just kills it instantly. And where these bacteria were, there are now pockets for the fracking fluid to go and basically eat away at the ground underneath. And what that can cause are earthquakes. Now, a lot of people like to disclaim that and say, oh no, fracking didn't cause that. But before that time, before fracking sites were on that land, there weren't any earthquakes until fracking came. Now, I'm not saying fracking's to blame, but I mean, there's a connection, right? So, now, it's so bad, it's so dangerous. It's really one of the most dirtiest processes ever. It uses, according to Fox, 2 to 8 million gallons of water per day, per site, and that's just small wells, Bigger wells, according to Fox, also takes about 18 million gallons of water a day. A day. Those millions and millions of gallons of water could be used for other things, such as the drought in California. I mean, seriously. Anyway, so there's other alternatives, such as solar power, wind power. There's also hydraulic power. Now, solar power. It's renewable, it's abundant, and it's pretty, it's really environmentally friendly. There is a couple cons to it. Some people complain it takes up space. It uses exotic materials, such as, according to Matthias Methim, who wrote an article, Solar Energy Pros and Cons. He states, certain solar cells require materials for China, this like certain chemical that makes the solar power work. So that is just probably the biggest concern that people have with it, because it uses that exotic material. Now, I think because we're in a technological advanced world that we can come up with something else that we can use to make up for this chemical instead, that would be environmentally friendly as well, and that would be better than what it is even now. And as I said earlier, wind power. Now there's pros. It doesn't cause any pollution. The turbines are they don't take up too much space, and it's just overall really environmentally friendly. There's a big con that I would like to point out, and a lot of people do say this, where wind turbines can hurt birds and bats, just because if they hit one of those head on, I mean, they are dead. But like I said, with the solar energy, we're in such a technological advanced society that I think we can come up with a better design or something else that can help maybe prevent birds from flying into it. That is probably the only thing that doesn't work with wind power. But other than that, we have at least two alternatives that we could use instead of fracking. Instead of polluting our world and our future, we have two other alternatives. Now, hydraulic fracking must stop immediately. And it's going to take everybody, me, you, everybody, not just to stop this horrible process that's going on. We need to raise our voices, talk to our congressmen and president. We need to do something about this, people. This is literally our future. If something goes wrong with this fracking, we can't drink water, period. Wow, it's just shocking to think about. We all need to do something, like I said, and we can. And there we go. Again, this is my audience.